What up? It's your boy, the professor, aka Tony Dunn, bringing you another C3 podcast each and every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Sometimes I'm glad to be here. Sometimes I'm sad to be a Panthers fan, but happy. I'm happy I'm a Panthers fan, but it's not always just fun and games. But I am always happy to be here with my boy Joe Riolano. What's up, my man?
What's up, Tony and C3 Nation and Panther Nation? It is always good to be a Panther fan. It's just sometimes it's better than other times, that's for sure. And I think we're in one of those times right now. Um, you know, we had a real good opportunity to make some headway this past weekend, and we sort of sank the boat, if you will.
Wow, I've never heard that before. I've never heard a good opportunity to make some headway, a good opportunity to make a play, a good opportunity to pull away with the division like 7 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. Every week we could have done that, and every week it's the same story. But the one thing I am happy for, Joe, is hooray beer, because this red stripe is much needed after another loss, another week, another. Man, it's tough. All right, so just to recap what happened, the Panthers fall to the Atlanta Falcons on a last-minute kick. We were up one, then down, then back in the game. Joe, how did you feel at the end of that game? Let me ask you this before we get to the obvious, which is the feelings of the end of the game. How'd you feel after playing 3 quarters of dog, you know what, and
Um,
then turning it on in the fourth quarter out of nowhere and feeling like I felt like I went from this. I went from there's no hope in the world to where it sucks and the world is ending to like once again we're still in it. The division is in sight, that kind of mess. How'd you feel at that point in the game?
well, I was at the Carolina Panthers fan club of Charleston that we have here at Southside 17 at Tanger Outlets, and the club was pretty quiet. I think we were just disgusted with the way we played for 3 quarters. We loved the defense. The defense was money, but the offense was doing absolutely nothing to help them. And then the fourth quarter came, and we were yelling and screaming and jumping out of our chairs and running around the restaurant, just excited about the plays that were being made. Just like you said, we had went from having no hope and no shot to, hey, we felt like we were going to win the game. And then, lo and behold, the end of
Lo and behold. Okay.
the end of the fourth quarter comes, and I guess we're gonna get to that.
All right. Well, so how did the mood change in the bar at that point? So, okay, what the fight? How? Tell me about this, because this was a fight. This game was a pure. It wasn't a fight. It was a fight for garbage. I mean, it was nobody played particularly well at
Right.
all. Um, but it was
Zero.
a in many ways it was a fight because it was a fight for who is somehow going to pull out of this funk and do something. And it broke out into a little fight on the field. How did you guys react to that? Did you see who started it? Can you kind of describe what you saw in that exchange?
Well, I saw someone, someone from the Falcons. I believe it was Josh Norman was on the ground, and then someone from the Falcons sort of went in leading with their head while he was on the ground, and I believe that's what triggered the whole thing. And then everybody sticking up for their own players, and we were. You got to remember, there's all these other games going on in the bar at the same time. So everybody's yelling and screaming because their teams are actually scoring, or we were very quiet because we weren't doing much scoring. But then we started yelling and screaming, and people actually turned and started watching the game because of the fight.
Right.
And, I think that did provide a bit of a spark for the Panthers. I felt like they were, yeah,
Desperation.
yeah. It was. You're in our house and you're starting this kind of stuff in our house. Well, we got something to show you. That kind of thing.
See, I saw it as a more of a frustration from the Carolina Panthers defense, and not a frustration that like, hey, nothing is going right. I mean, absolutely nothing is going right. They, whenever the defense plays kind of well, the offense plays like garbage. Whenever the offense plays like garbage, I mean, it plays pretty well. The defense has played like garbage, and this has been the story for really. I hate to say it, it's been more than the 5 game losing streak we've on. I feel like, I mean, you got to add one more on top of that. That was a tie. That the same type of story, inconsistent play. One win against Chicago, which was an inconsistent game in the first half, where we turned it around in the second half. So this is gone. This has been since week 3, Joey. The same story week out, and I felt like it was the defense saying, I mean, we've got to play a little bit. We've got to want to win just a little bit. And then what? Lo and behold, who makes a play? Very own Georgia Bulldog, Thomas Davis, TD, the guy that never quits. I feel like he's been the most important piece to. I don't know if you could say there's an important piece on this team, but man, imagine playing this season without Thomas Davis, Joey.
I wouldn't want to do that.
No,
He,
not at all.
he has been. I would say he's probably the team MVP on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe on the whole team, actually. Not because he's had the best stats or whatever, but he's always made the big plays. He's constantly been around the ball. And I would even, there's a time or two where he's not made a play, but he came back and made up for it.
Right. And in this case, I mean, he forces a fumble that changes the momentum of the game, and he
Hmm.
put it on old Devin Hester.
He did.
I thought he broke his arm.
He did. He hit him hard, and he made him go back to the locker room. He hit him so hard.
Yeah. So we get the ball. We come out in the fourth quarter, Joey. Big pass, touchdown pass to Kelvin Benjamin. What'd you think about the Kelvin Benjamin drive and the pass to get something done?
I think that was a great toss by Cam. Even better catch by Cape. I mean, to focus on the ball as you're falling down, and
And as you
you got a man.
could have caught it anyway. I mean, he almost dropped it, dude.
Right, but he did have a guy all over him. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he was wide open. That defender was all over him, and it was just a very good catch. But it was huge. It was huge. It was much needed. Something we needed in the worst way.
Okay. All right. So we go down. We get that touchdown. We get another deep ball to Philly Brown. The first deep play of the season, I feel like, other than maybe you could say a couple of touchdowns to Benjamin count as deep touchdowns. No, I mean, but I felt like that was our first big play of the season.
Right, I agree. I agree. It was 47 yards, I believe it was.
47 yards in the
Yeah.
air. You know, no run after catch. I mean, he was Philly falling down, Brown catching the touchdown.
Right.
Is what went down on that play. And so we're back in the game, Joey. We're up one, and they kick a field goal. Right? No, we drive down. Yeah, they're up by now. They're up. It was 17-16 at that point, I believe, right? And then they kick a field goal. How did the order
Yeah.
game right now? I'm so
Yeah, that's right. And then it was 19-17.
19-17,
Yeah.
and we drive down the field. We're moving the ball. First play. All right. So the way it happens is they kick that field goal. Little kick in the nads, but we've got some momentum at that point.
We've been moving the ball well. We
They
had some
kick-
time.
And they kick that funky punt,
Short
that funky
Yeah.
kick, yeah. And then Swole Bowl, Brandon Williams grabs that ball. He probably grabbed it on the 15, and ran to 35 really quickly, right? So we've got good field position. Cam comes out, steps into the shotgun, very first play, fires a strike to Greg Olson for a first down. Right? We're moving the ball. Cam has been, I feel like, ignited this team at that point. I feel the last 2 weeks, and this goes back to not 2 weeks in Philadelphia, but it goes back to the New Orleans Saints game. When we were really about out of it, Cam was playing terrible. He ran a big, huge first down where he zone, I believe, and got a touchdown. So he's taken this team when nobody is playing well at times, including himself, and then he's just willed enough or something. He does this on this final drive, Joey. We go down there. We get to I believe, their 27-yard line, and which makes it a 29-yard line maybe, which made it like a 47-yard kick or something.
Like a 46, 47-yarder, yeah.
Yeah, and we run the ball 3 times. Second down. What do you think about this?
I don't understand it. You know, you're moving the ball effectively in the fourth quarter. Cam is in a rhythm. Okay, he's gotten into a rhythm.
There's about a minute and 40 seconds on the clock when you run the first run play.
Right, so I'm thinking to myself, we need to try to get another first down at least, so we can continue to eat up the clock and continue to force them to use their timeouts. But then they start this conservative, trying not to lose crap again. We've been through this. We went through this in 2011 and 2012. You know, we've had
2013.
Right.
If that's what you're referring to, because it was really 2012, 2013, because Buffalo, Arizona, Minnesota, the change happens. And then this season as well, I think it's important to point out that the Cincinnati game, another moment in our season where we put on the brakes.
We're playing to not lose. Instead of going in for the kill, when Cam is playing well, you know, we decide to totally change up our style, bring in a fullback, run out of the I formation, not fooling anyone. You know, everybody knows.
With the team, I think it's also important to point out that we have not run the ball effectively at all season, nor in the games where we've done this.
Mm-hmm. And well,
so it would be different if we were running the ball as a running team and we were mauling over people and getting 4 yards of carry up the middle every time.
This was one of our better rushing games. We actually ran for like 102 yards in this game as a team.
As a team.
As a team.
You're going to talk about 8 runs from Cam.
Right. So, I mean,
you did not run the ball for more than 80 yards. Jonathan Stewart missing. I mean,
I could see running.
Those are funny numbers.
I see running, you know, 1 or 2 plays, but don't, you know, give Cam a chance. Give him a chance to drop back or take a snap in shotgun, and then look for a receiver. If he doesn't find one, maybe he can make something happen, create a dynamic play. I mean, he is your best playmaker on the team. Why don't you put the ball in his hand?
Why don't you roll him out?
Right, or even that.
You run the ball. You run the ball if there. You look for a pass, a nice safe pass. You know, something short yardage. And if there's nothing there, you tell Cam to run it. Just take what you can get. Lay down. Lay down inbounds, keep the clock running that way.
Right. I mean, so many options you have available to you. And
we don't have so many options. You know why?
No, I mean with Cam.
Playbook. Mike Shultz playbook.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's 2-page playbook.
Yeah. So today, David Newton and everybody was tweeting out about some stuff that we're going to talk about tonight too, which has got to do with some moves that were made today. I put up a story on the website right before the show. I don't know how I was able. Dude, I churned out. You want to talk about a machine, brother? Right now, I came home from work, churned out a story, took care of kids by myself with no wife, then took a kid to Boy Scouts, and came on back, and in the whole process. So I got this story up tonight, Joe. Cold days in Carolina make for cold cuts. And and it's cold in Carolina. There was a big cut today, but one of the things that we were just talking about was, okay, so I was in this conversation on Twitter, and David Newton had mentioned that they were not bringing up Stephen Hill because he didn't know the playbook, or he didn't know the system, is according to Rivera what he said. And we'll talk about this more. But I just tweeted him back and I said, well, man, I'm sure that it's not like the playbook is 200 pages long.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I feel like we could just give him a quick study session and he would be up to date on it.
Right.
So, yeah, is that there were a lot of different. All right, so you don't have to go for broke. And this has been something about our play calling that we should talk about, Joey, is that there seems to be this need that when you pass the ball, you pick very low percentage plays for the players that we have. Right. It's not that they're low a percentage in reality, in real life, but when you have a shitty offensive line and terrible receivers, that lowers the probability.
Right.
You're throwing receiver. Yeah, you're throwing receiver routes to a tight end who is slow as molasses. He's a good receiver, but he is no Gronkowski or Jimmy Graham in speed.
Right, and you're also looking at, your deep threats are, Jericho Cottrey. He's running down the sidelines 40 yards deep. He's not getting any separation from any defender.
None.
That's not going to happen. That does decrease.
And Benjamin as well. I mean, I feel like you're playing with a crappy offensive line, and you're running plays that tend to take a little bit longer to develop than we need, but also with guys who are a little slower, which also slows the development of the plays.
Sure. And then that puts a pressure on your line to try to block longer.
Okay, so we tried out there. We tried to kick a 47-yard field goal. You would feel like, how'd you feel, Joey, honestly, when Gano was going out there?
I felt great when he was going out there until the announcer said, "Oh, he's made 25 in a row."
Did that really stick out to you?
Yes, as soon as he said that. It
stuck out to me. Oh my God! I said right away, this is not going in.
Right, I said, great. There it goes. He's going to miss.
I tweeted this out, Joe, right before we started running the ball, that we need to go for a touchdown. We need to play for a touchdown. And this is where I get upset about this. I don't want to hear about the conservative, we got to play, I don't even like the idea of moving it to the hash line, doing these types of things. I feel like at this moment, this season, the one thing that the NFC South no team has done has been to win a game, to go and take it.
Right.
I mean, instead of letting it, one time, a long time ago, Joey, when I was a kid, we were watching football, I was young, and we were hanging out, and you were talking about a receiver and how he went up for the ball, he let the ball come to him rather than attacking the ball. And you said you got to always attack the ball. You don't let it. You don't ever. If you're not attacking the ball as a receiver, then it's destined for failure. I think that was what your message was, and that's what we have not done. We didn't attack, and I'm not saying that you have to run. The only option is a touchdown, but why is it unfathomable for a team to score a touchdown?
Right, why didn't we even try?
Is that ridiculous for a pro football team to score a touchdown?
No, especially not in that circumstance we were in. We had plenty of time on the clock. We were moving the ball well. I could see if we were struggling with moving the ball, but in that fourth quarter, we were moving the ball well. So that's what my thought was. Let's get 6. Let's not make a stupid play. Let's not call something stupid and throw an interception. But just if you use Cam's abilities as a runner as a possible option, then you're increasing your likelihood of getting a touchdown versus a field goal. Because a touchdown would have made a big difference in the game. 8 more clock up.
A big difference. It would have won the game. It would have been over. I mean, literally, it would have put the onus on them so much. They would have had to do the same thing that they did, except score a touchdown.
Right.
And that puts the onus of responsibility on them.
And they wouldn't have had much time to do that.
Nah, it was deferring in that way. It's like you are destined to lose when you play that type of football. So this has been, we're not the first people to talk about this, Joey. This has been the talk for the last 2 days.
Right.
And it's been a talk for the last couple of weeks with Ron Rivera, the riverboat. Is he rowboat? Is he riverboat? But this is press conference yesterday asking if how he felt about that last series, and this is what Ron Rivera had to say about it.
Well, just knowing exactly our system, and that's probably.
And that is not what he had to say.
Are you looking specifically at the first missed field goal, the plays leading up to that, those 3 rushes?
No. I mean, what I'm talking about is what happened throughout the game. There's some other things that we could have done to put us in better position, whether it be on offense, defense, or special teams. That's what I'm talking about.
So that's Ron Rivera. They asked him what there were some things, he said. There were some things we could have done better to win this game.
And Tony, he's right. He's right. We could have done some things earlier in the game to put us in a better position to win the game. But truth be told, he's avoiding that question.
Right.
He's avoiding that question.
How about this? How about you stand up right there? I don't know. Have you followed the RG3 mess over the last day or so a little bit?
No.
Okay, so RG3, he had a terrible game. They lost, and in a press conference, they asked him about the loss and things, and he was expanding, and he said he gave the answer, which was, I didn't play well, kind of, blah, blah, blah. He did the quarterback thing, but then he went on to say this, as they kept going, and he said, if you put, look, it takes 11 guys on the field playing well together. So if I play bad, and those 11 guys are playing bad, it's not, if I play good and those 11 guys are playing bad, it's not going to work. And he said, you put Aaron Rodgers in there, you can put Peyton Manning in there, you can put Tom Brady in there. Same story. It takes 11 guys playing well, not on one guy. Now, he didn't need to say this. It went on, But here's the thing is that he's taking a lot of criticism. He took criticism from his head coach. He's taking criticism because, he was being honest in some ways, but what do we want him to say, Joey, when he has a bag and the Redskins lose? What do you want to hear from him at that press conference?
I had a bad game.
Yeah, and whose fault was it?
It was my fault. I'm the quarterback.
Yeah, and you know what? Is that we hold quarterbacks to that standard, Joey. But here's the thing, is that Ron Rivera's asked that question, and what does he do? He defers blame. And certainly, he is right. You are right. He has, there were so many things in that game that were so bad that we could have won it. But what if Cam Newton got up there and said that? What if he threw a pick on the last play of the game, and Cam Newton didn't say, I got to play better, I got to fix it, I cannot turn the ball over? What if he said, yeah, turn the ball over, but if we would have played better for 3 quarters,
right,
we would have won. And so this is what I got. I think that is the problem. It's not the call. It's not the conservative nature. It's is that we want. I think Ron Rivera needs to fall on the sword just as much as he requires everyone else to. Here's him commenting some more on it.
Any second guessing yourself on how you played at the end of the game?
No, the easy thing is to second guess. The hard thing is to sit there and realize that I don't have the benefit of sitting there and being able to have hindsight, because that's 2020.
Man,
and
that's
if
so
I
hard.
knew, then shoot, I could say, oh, we're not going to do this, so let's do that. No, I'm not going to second guess my decision.
So,
and the problem that I have with that, the problem that I have with that is this isn't the first time. He's been in situations like this since he's been in Carolina. And there have been times where he has earned the nickname, the moniker Riverboat, by just saying, okay, I'm going to do this. And
by pressure, by social pressure. I never believed he was really ever that.
Right. Well, he whatever the reason was, he went for the win. Okay. So for him to say, hindsight is 2020, this and that, he knows this. He knows this. So this is nothing new. So I don't understand why he's trying to say he doesn't have any regrets, because he should have regrets, because this isn't the first time he's been in a situation like this. And he still regresses back to the, okay, I'm going to try not to lose this game, instead of I'm going to go out and win it. Like you were talking about, I'm going to attack and try to get a touchdown, instead of, well, let me see if I can set up for a straight field goal for the kicker. I'm going to put it in the middle of the field so he can have a shot at kicking it.
How about this, Joey? If we blew, look, neither of us have enough money to go and just be true gambling men. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we're going to throw it all away and go to Las Vegas and just ball out for 4 or 5 days and just party like crazy. But say we could, or say we had enough money to go for a day or two. What if we went to Las Vegas and we only played roulette and only played black or red the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and say you broke even or you lost $200 on the way and you come back. I feel like that's what it is that when you did that play, you didn't play a square. You didn't play. I mean, I'm not asking you to play a number on the roulette table, you didn't take any
chances.
You didn't swing.
Right.
You actually hoped for a walk.
Right. You went up
to bat and you didn't swing.
Yep.
You took 4 pitches in a row. And that I got a problem with is that. At what point in this season has anything suggested that could work? That could work last year when we held teams to 13 points.
Right.
But
right.
We haven't been able to stop anybody.
But
so that your defense was going to come back and make a stop stop field goal is, I think, a little bit. And here, to me, some of it with Ron Rivera, and this might be telling you just how bad things are in Carolina. He is struggling as a head coach keeping this all together. And I feel like I'm going to play this clip for you talking more about this point. And tell me if he's smarting back a little bit to the reporters and being just a little edgy.
He just completed a couple passes.
Yep.
Any thoughts to keep throwing the ball?
Let's see. If we throw it and we intercept, then everybody goes, well, they gambled and it cost them. So really, and this is all hindsight now, and I'm getting to think about it, but, the decision I made was what I believe was the best. Get them out of timeouts, kick the field goal, go up, and the way we're playing on defense and the way we played all game, I thought we felt pretty good about that.
Joe, what do you think about that let's see about this. If we throw the ball and throw a pick, those words hung on me a little bit. Is that why are you going to throw a pick? Like, do you throw does Cam Newton throw 10 passes and 9 out of 10 are picks?
No.
What did you feel? Do you feel was there a degree of agitation there?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was aggravated because, he blew it again. He had a really good opportunity to win this game, and because of his conservative play calling, it slipped away. I know he thought that field goal should have been made. I know he thought that, and maybe
it should be. I mean, it should be NFL
right.
47. I mean, can we really argue with that?
No.
Why don't you try to make it a 42?
Right, a 36. Get another 10 yards, 11 yards. What
if they would have just said on second down that they were kicking the field goal? Like, would we have been like, oh, well, it's a 47-yarder, you should make it?
Well, I mean, truthfully,
No, we wouldn't. We would say there's more plays to be played.
right. There's
I
more.
mean,
We would say there's more yards to be gotten.
yes.
That's really what we would say. We can make it closer.
All right, so let me ask you this. How do you feel if you're a Carolina Panther right now? Cam Newton, if you're Greg Olsen, and by the way, Greg Olsen has shown frustration this past week, slamming his head down. This is not us just making this up, Joey. This is not just fans second guessing, calling for Ron Rivera. We're starting to see, and the name of our podcast right now is Dissension within the ranks. Is you're starting to see for the very first time in 2 years, I feel like, Carolina Panthers looking frustrated with each other, with their coaching staff. How do you feel after this loss with the way Ron Rivera and your head coach, has he lost the locker room?
I feel like the locker room is slipping because players are frustrated with games like this, games that we should have won. You know, I wrote in my post today, where's that team that played the Detroit Lions in week 2? You know, that's the team I want to see. That's the team that I miss.
Well, no duh. I mean, do you know how long ago that was, Joey? That might as well have been 2013.
We looked so good in that game, Tony. Remember, we went to that game. We were so happy. It was so much fun. That team just...
it was awesome.
And they just...
The sky was the limit for this team. The sky was the limit. The division was going to be ours. Boy, what a 360, 180, whatever the right terminology is. I feel like this is tough sledding, to use Jason Avant's words. This has to be difficult on a young football team where the leadership, the talent is lacking, it seems. This has to be very difficult on them. And I think this might be what's exacerbating why I am upset with Ron Rivera. I don't necessarily think he's a bad coach. I don't even think that the decision making is flawed all the time. Because I understand this, that if you go to Las Vegas again with the Las Vegas, I must want to go party. If you go to Las Vegas and you play blackjack, you should statistically play by the rules. The more over the long term, it works out. So you even can understand his conservative nature, the defensive mind, and things like this. But what I can't understand, Joe, is that I feel like what Ron Rivera has done well in the past is when the whole sky seems to be falling, he is the one person that doesn't seem fatigued, that doesn't seem questioning the ability to win. And I think he's questioning Cam Newton. I think he's questioning the talent on this team. And I feel like Ron Rivera has to be the one that believes when no one else does. And I don't see that with these comments back to this problem at the end of the game. So thinking on that and having Ron Rivera have to talk to the team in that light, here is him discussing the talk to the team after this loss.
I thought the talk went pretty well. You know, I mean, it was more of a speech, and it was a meeting, and I did all the speaking. They did all the listening. And I thought the message I gave them was a fair message. I thought they heard me. I thought when they came out, they understood. And again, we're still in the mix. That's the crazy thing about this. We really are. You know, and I broke my own rule. I looked ahead and told the guys, we got 5 games left to play. If we take care of business in all 5 games and 1 or 2 things happen and we win the division. I mean, that's how simple it is. You may go, oh, hey, that's not true. No, it is. That's how simple it is. If we take care of our business and 1 other thing happens, we win the division. That's just how crazy it is.
Joey, you're tired of hearing this.
I am sick.
One more play. One play. I can play the clips all season long. One play. One thing happens.
One thing goes.
How about this? The one thing that's gonna go our way is a 5-game win streak after a 5-game losing streak.
Right.
Where do you see this, Joey? Does that motivate you if you're a player in that locker room?
No, I'm not motivated because I've seen us do nothing. I mean, I've seen us have shots at winning the game like this past week, and coaches put on the brakes. Coaches scale back the offense. They take the ball out of the best player on the team's hands and
Or
handcuff
not
him.
believe in them. Or
Right.
not believe in them. Not trust them. Because that's what's happened with Cam Newton is suddenly Cam Newton is the problem. Suddenly, this guy who resurrected the entire team. This is a problem with all Panther fans that hate on Cam Newton. This is a problem with the media, is that they always talk about what he hasn't done yet rather than what he has done. So, yes, what has he done? He's only set records in his rookie season. He's only made the Pro Bowl twice. He's only been on a team that's gone 12-4. He's only had a 62% completion rate in his third season while accumulating the most hits in the entire NFL. Ever.
Since he's been in the league.
Yes, it's so ungodly, it's unfair, it's criminal, and so this is why I will forever forgive Cam Newton. Is that if I'm gonna say what's the problem, that's not the first on the list. It's not like everybody else, Joey's doing what they're supposed to, and this one guy's holding us back. And to me, it's the same thing. I feel like Ron Rivera he sounds to me defeated.
Right, like he has given up on the season.
He doesn't know what else to do.
Right.
I think that's what it is. He has no other answers. Like he's just giving it all. I feel like he's exhausted. And to be honest, I feel sorry for him a little bit in that case because he should be. You know, and this is not all his fault. This is got to go back. This goes back to last week, Joey, when we were having the same discussion. And who did you find was the subject of that week? That should not be left off the hook. Dave Gettleman.
Right. And his moves in the off season.
Again, this is just showing you how I would be fatigued too trying to do this with this talent. But speaking of that, one of the guys that was brought in today in the news, Joey, today, the big story, and this is where Carolina Cold Front brings cold cuts, came today, is Jason Avant was waived from the team. You know, he was brought in as a free agent, as a veteran, to kind of steady the ship with him and Jericho Cotchery in lieu of cutting Steve Smith. I mean, that's the backstory, is you don't go out and get these guys if you don't cut Steve Smith, or at least you don't get two of them. So they were brought in to mentor. He's known for having Bible meetings, and, you know, he's known for the turnaround, stand-up character guy. Jason Avant hasn't played particularly well. He's dropped some important passes this season. He hasn't done anything to stand out. But today, of all days, he was cut. After speaking out against the conservative play calling of this past week's loss, Joey, truly, honestly, do you believe this has anything to do with it? Him challenging the management of the Carolina Panthers. And I don't believe he was, to temper this, it wasn't what he said. He won't yelling and screaming. What I felt like he said was very measured.
Right. And more than that, I think what he said was being very honest. He was speaking honestly.
Just truthful.
Right.
It's nothing we haven't said tonight.
Right, and as a veteran, you know, he's been in offenses and seen different coaching styles, so he probably has greater insight to that sort of thing than we do. But no, I don't I don't think it had anything to do with his being released. I really believe what they saw from Philly Brown this past week and how the offense changed on that big play. They do want to get him more reps. And they brought back Tolbert. You know, he's now coming back to the active roster too, so they needed to clear a spot for him as well. So I think it was more that than anything he might have said, in my opinion.
How do you feel about this? To me, I agree. I mean, this is a non-story. I felt a little guilty when I was writing it up tonight. You know what I'm saying? They're guilty, but here's the thing: is that I don't feel like it is. The reason I say it's a non-story is generally this wouldn't be an important story, or even noteworthy. But why it was to me tonight, Joey, was because I felt that this team has done a poor job in the past since January, since the end of last season, with the way they've done things when it comes to personnel moves. So, you know, I mean, we've had problems. We had the Steve Smith saga. We then have Greg Hardy, and it's not that the Greg Hardy, is that our fault? No. Have we handled it the best? Probably not. I think in some ways that it would have been cooler if we would have just said, we're going to play him until the league forces us not to. Because, yeah, I mean, I think that would have been cool, or to say you're cut or something like that. You know, I felt like we tried to, like, sit the fence a little bit on that. But to me, that was even worse about that whole scenario is that Ron Rivera, in the midst of struggling, he's the one that's got to deal with that issue. And I felt like that was out of his territory, above his pay grade. I feel like that felt a Gettleman. What I'm trying to say is this. We haven't done a great job with PR and making people confident about the way we've handled things or cordial. It has been really cut and dry, business-like in Charlotte. And once again, I feel like right after this, it's just another example of that. And that's what I think spoke to me on this, was not that Jason Avant is gone, but then, all right, so then you go and bring up DeAndre Presley?
Yeah.
Oh, well, man, okay. It's not like you were making room. I mean, this guy ain't going to play at all, but this is what Ron Rivera was having none of it. This is what Ron Rivera had to say.
Speculation nationally that this was a move done in part because of Avant's post-game comments.
Guys, I have no idea what he said. This has got nothing to do with it, and that needs to stop right here. Okay, just so you know. That's fine with me. I have no idea. I've not heard it. And again, the move was only made with this in mind.
I call bullshit, Joey. And not that I don't believe they cut him because of what he said, but I call bullshit on Ron Rivera didn't know what he said.
I would agree with
That's it. I mean, like, oh, I don't know what he said, but we're not going to talk about it any further. Like, I feel like, I mean, once again, terrible, right? I don't feel like it was handled well. I don't think it was done properly. Now, here is him. This is why they did it.
Is this a move that kind of pretends to you guys look into the future?
No, what this move pretends to is that we need to get Philly on the field. I mean, again, he got opportunities later in the game, and he made some plays. It changed some of the things that they did against us and tried to do against us. And I think going forward and looking at those things and saying, you know, with Philly on the field, this is what happens. This
with Philly on the field, falling down Brown. No, you know what I don't like about this, Joe, is still, again, PR, all of this, I don't feel like that's honest. And Philly Brown has played, and it's not like Jason Avant has been taking away touches. You can just put his ass on the sidelines.
Right.
It's not like he has to get a number of touches in this. So then they go and get DeAndre Presley, a guy that does not stand out in training camp. No one has said anything about this to me. I've been going on and on with guys, with Joe Person, with David Newton, with Bill Voth today on Twitter. Now, I've been going on. They barely pay attention to me. But I've been saying this, is that it's not like DeAndre Presley just proved himself in training camp and stood out and all of this. We were there, Joey. Did you see him, like, making, like, waves?
No.
But to me, this just goes on to say this, is, again, if this is the case, if Riverboat Ron or Rowboat is being honest in this case, Joey, why didn't they see this earlier?
Right, what took 15 weeks?
Yeah, why didn't we know? Anybody could have told you this a long time ago, that Jason Avant was not what we needed. So this seems to be, I think this is epic disaster at this time, Joey. And I think that this is them looking towards a future. No, it's not. I think it's them just do something. And this is where I've got a big problem with this. Goes around. It's a circle of, what is it when you speak down? It's a circle of condensation. Not condensation. That's the shit that gathers on your window. I know my beer right here. Condescension. The condescending attitude of Rivera to the reporters, then the reporters to the fans, drives me nuts. And this is what I gotta say, is that the reporters today were asking about Stephen Hill. Ron Rivera said, nah, we can't do that. We're not ready for it. So then as the reporters then report this and fans are asking the same questions to the reporters, they're like, why are you even asking that? So they give this like, you're the dumbass for asking this, while they asked 7 times in the press conference. And Joe Person, by the way, is the one that got me on this, because he was like, I haven't asked since freaking since we signed him. But if this is the case, Joey, getting younger, faster, looking towards the future, you're talking about DeAndre Presley, who was a former quarterback in college, who came into the league as a cornerback, and now is a converted wide receiver who ran a 4.6. What potential does he show that Stephen Hill couldn't? Why aren't we testing him out? This is what Ron Rivera had to say about it.
Well, just knowing exactly our system. And that's probably the biggest one. I mean, we like him. We think he's got opportunities, and he's going to have his opportunity. But the other guy also that we wanted to take a look at is DeAndre. DeAndre also has some return skills and abilities that we want to look at as well.
So Stephen Hill is big and fast, and that's what we could use, really. What do you make of this DeAndre Presley move, Joey, instead of...
Well, I don't know where he fits in the offensive scheme of things, because we got plenty of 4.6 guys out there. We don't need any more of them.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I felt like that's what Avant ran. If he ran slower than that, good Lord.
I think he might have touched on it there at the tail end, though, in saying his return ability. And if that's the case, maybe that moves Philly out of special teams, or with a reduced role on special teams.
I hope so.
Right. And then Presley will come in for like punt returns or kickoff returns, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I could see that being the case. Now, as far as Stephen Hill and knowing the system, he learned a system in New York. I don't know how complicated their system is. Ours is in all likelihood considerably different, and he's come in like halfway through the season, so he had no training camp with us, no OTAs, nothing like that. So maybe he is way behind.
No, that's some bullshit. Sorry, but Mike Shula's system is not complicated. And when you're big, tall, and fast, and your offensive line doesn't give you any time, what do you really need to learn? Do you need to learn 7 hot routes? Do you need to learn the chemistry that obviously DeAndre Presley has with Cam Newton? Hell no. You need to run as fast as you can towards the end zone, and Cam Newton is going to throw as far as he can because nobody else can do shit on this team. So just go ahead and tell us this. DeAndre Presley is going to come in and return punts.
Right.
Tell us that. Tell us that.
Right.
Don't tell us this bullshit about the system being complicated, because here's the problem, Joey. The starters don't know the system.
Sometimes you do, yeah. Sometimes it's clear that there's some confusion.
It's a confusion. They all suck, man. I mean, it's been so terrible. I mean, what really? And so I'm not saying Stephen Hill is going to be the savior and the answer, but this is once again just more bullshit. And this is why I think the Avant thing was handled so terribly. So let's move on. Everyone, thanks for joining the C3 podcast. You can follow us at cat_chronicles. Like us on Facebook, CarolinaCatChronicles.com/ not even that. Don't even listen to those instructions. I'm so mad. Facebook.com/CarolinaCatChronicles. You can tweet the show at #C3. As always, check out the website. You know, we got a lot going on. Joey, I think it's time, in many ways, for a newer segment that we brought in while you were gone. Backdoor Fiction! It is the Fact or Fiction segment of the show, and what I want to do is I'm going to pose a series of questions to you, or statements, should I say, statements, because questions would need answers. Statements, fact or fiction. Fact or fiction, Cam Newton is the Carolina Panthers quarterback of the future.
I think that's fact.
Tell me why.
Well, for one, we've invested a lot of time into him, and we've seen his playmaking ability when he has some talent, when he has some help. And truth be told, I don't know that he's ever had a good or great offensive line in front of him.
Never.
Right. He's had some adequate offensive lines, but never a good or great. And I think if you put a good offensive line in front of him and give him another weapon or two in the receiving core, he could really show you something. So I think that's a fact, that he is the franchise quarterback of the future for the Panthers.
I agree. Fact. Tony, the professor, laying it down. Fact in this case, because if it's not a fact and you start over, I think that it's a silly, stupid proposition. Is Cam Newton perfect? No. Will he ever be perfect? Probably not. But you know what? He's going to be greater than 98% of the people on the planet. So, fact, don't hesitate on that. If you're going to hesitate on anything. Next, fact or fiction, Ron Rivera will be the coach of the Carolina Panthers in 2015.
That's a tough one, Tony. I'm going to say fact, and I'm going to tell you why. Because that is the last year of his contract.
No, he's got one after it.
I thought he signed through 15.
No, he signed a 3-year extension.
Oh, it wasn't 2 years, it was 3 years.
I think it was 3.
Okay, well that makes things different then.
We don't know. One of the things I've been trying to look at, Joey, is the details of his deal. And we can see his original deal. You can find that easily on the internet. Mm-hmm. But his most recent one just said contract extension. And I have not been able to find out the details of just how much. I'm going to go ahead and take this while you think about it, Joey. And I'm going to say fiction. And I think that is going out on a ledge. I understand that. I say 35 to 40% chance fiction, but I'm going with it because there's not a lot of continuity in the team at the moment, and so I feel like you could, if you're gonna get rid of offensive coordinators at this point and do all of that, I feel like, man, I mean, that's the time for a total change. The second thing I think about that as well is I think Ron Rivera's deal, if they really, really believed in him after that 12-4 season, would have been a 5-year deal. So I think the 3-year deal was the pat on the back to, and I really think he could be the coach next year, but one more year of a less than winning season, I think he's on the outskis.
I'm going to go with fact. And the reason I'm going with fact is Jerry Jones is cheap. And
Jerry Richardson is
I'm sorry.
Jerry Jones is the opposite of cheap.
Jerry Richardson is cheap. He wouldn't want to have to pay Rivera for 2 years of doing nothing. So I think he'll be back. And then additionally, I think he may get a pass, if you will, for the poor level of talent that he had to deal with this season. As bad as sometimes the coaching has been, the level of talent has been worse.
Oh, it's been terrible. And I think you might be right on this, and I'm going to give you, that's why I'm like in the 35% chance. Because you're right, is that how bad would it look on Dave Gettleman if he did fire Ron Rivera the year after Coach of the Year award, and then giving him what is, I believe, a tank season at this point now. Mm-hmm. It's a tank now almost. I mean, it really is. Is the idea that we're going to win out is very optimistic in a time where no one seems to portray optimism. And then second, I think it might have been even a tank job from the beginning.
Right, he put him behind the 8-ball. Gettleman put him behind the 8-ball. And I'm thinking, truthfully, top 7, top 8 draft pick for the Carolina Panthers next year.
Man, if things don't turn around quick, it's going to be top 5.
Yeah. I'm really believing that.
I think the reason I want to say tank from the beginning is everybody thought the Saints were going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
So there was not a thought that the NFC South was going to regress as a division and do what it did. Everybody believed that it was marching forward. So to put out last year a 10-6 season doesn't make the playoffs, So I mean, anything less than 10-6 was tanking in many ways if you don't think you could get to it. But I think this is that maybe Dave Gettleman, can he withstand the PR fallout if he fired Ron Rivera after giving him nothing and an extension? That would be tough, but nothing suggests he's not willing to do it.
Right.
Fact or fiction, Stephen Hill would help more than DeAndre Presley.
I'm going to say fiction. And
wow.
I'm saying that strictly based on the special teams aspect of the game. If we're talking in the offensive scheme, obviously Stephen Hill is going to be more of a threat because of his speed, but looking at the overall picture and how they want to get Philly Brown involved more and open the door for someone to contribute on special teams, Presley's going to be your man. So that's why I say fact.
No, I think you said fiction because I'm saying fact on this one because if DeAndre Presley was such a great special teamer and punt returner, his ass would have been on this team a long time ago, particularly when Philly Brown was out with a concussion, Burson dropped the kickoff. I'm sorry, is that I don't buy this. I say this. You bring the guy that's 6'4" and runs a 4.4 in, waving the 4.4 in the door. You do what you got to do. I think that helps much more. Your special teams are not going to be fixed by DeAndre Presley.
No, and I don't think you're looking to fix anything on your special teams. I think you're looking to plug and play. That's it.
Yeah, why if so then you just say that you had a shitty plan for special teams the entire time.
I think we did.
All right, put Fozzie Waka back there. I think Fozzie should be returning everything. Kickoffs, punts, all of it.
I like him on kickoffs. I really do. I think he does a great job.
What's the difference? Tell me, Joey, between kickoff and a punt.
Well,
I mean, literally, like in your skill set. I mean, I understand you get more time. You don't got to worry about being blown up.
I think with kick returning, you have a little more time to get your speed built up and be able to make some moves. Whereas when you're punt returning, you got to be exceptionally quick. Your best punt returners are exceptionally quick. Look at Darren Sproles. You know how quick he is.
Why is Fozzie not fit that mold, though?
He doesn't have that lateral quickness. He's fast. Fozzie's fast. That's why I think he's good on kick returns. But he's just not exceptionally quick.
But Philly is.
Philly is quicker. Yes, I would say quicker.
Trash. Philly falling down Brown is the worst punt returner since. He's been terrible. He has not been good.
I'm just happy when he holds on to the ball.
How about this? Do you have a fact or fiction for me before we move on?
Oh, yeah, sure. Here we go. I'll throw this out there to you. Fact or fiction? Mike Shula will return as offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers.
That's fiction. I mean, we all know that. Is that guy, his head's going to roll. It deserves to roll at this point is because I think that I don't think necessarily I'm ready to be. I don't like trouncing on people because I think our boy, Mr. T Money, said this to us once on this show, and that is, I mean, he can't help that there's been so many plays that they just haven't executed on. I mean, there's been touchdowns dropped, there's been poor football playing. But here's the thing: is that I think the entire offensive side of the coaching needs to be rethought out. Number one, I'm gonna say this is all those jackies that love Ricky Prohl like he was God. Where are you now? I mean, seriously, and I think he's a good coach. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to criticize, but you got people running poor routes. You've got people. You got this rookie Benjamin, who's quitting on routes. You got all this, but nobody's going, oh, Ricky Prohl isn't coaching him up. But whenever he made a catch, his ass was God. Second, Mike Shula hasn't adapted to the strengths of this team, Joey, or should we say the weaknesses of this team. I think when you're a coach, sometimes you got to say, hey, I want to use my system. I want to do these things.
But I don't have the personnel.
Yeah, I don't have the players to, or it's not working. And I haven't seen Mike Shula change this. And where another one is that we have heard this is that Mike Shula is not familiar with the hurry-up offense. Now, how you're an NFL coordinator and you're not familiar with something that has become standard throughout football, it baffles me. Like, how do you not get familiar with it? I mean, just go play Madden for the weekend and you figure it out. I mean, like, what I think that shows is that you have to realize at some point you know your weaknesses and you know your strengths, and you got to exploit the strengths of your team, even if they're few. And I haven't seen him be able to figure that out. Now, is he trying? Maybe, but it's not happening. Third, the reason I say fiction, he will not be coming back, or fact, he will not be coming back. I forget the way it was posed. Mike Shula is not coming back. I don't think any offensive coming back. And everybody thought I was stupid for saying this, Joey. Ken Dorsey is out of his league as quarterback coach of Cam Newton. And Ken Dorsey, we saw this when Cam Newton came off on the sideline frustrated. He sat over there by himself, and you know what Ken Dorsey did? He struggled with that Microsoft Surface tablet trying to figure out something. But he had nothing he could say to Cam Newton there. And we need somebody that can coach Cam Newton in any situation, that has the credibility, that has the experience. And Ken Dorsey is like 2 years older than Cam Newton, and he hasn't seen it. And I feel like all of that has to go. So Mike Shula out the door.
I agree. I think his time in Carolina has come and gone. he's not made the adjustments that you need to make as an offensive coordinator when you're put in various positions. And this isn't the first season that we've had these issues. We had these same issues last year.
Yeah, we really did. The only thing is that they were just disguised enough
Right.
because
Of the talent, some of the talent we had.
yeah, and the defense that played out of their mind, and we had an offensive line that was better, good enough to hide that the fact that we could run the ball a little bit.
Right.
And we can't do any of that. So, all right, last segment of the show because we're 5 minutes over, but we also don't have to do picks this week because Carolina Panthers win or lose against the bye. Nope, they tie. All right, but our last segment of the show, Joe, is the Ice Up picks of the week, and I think I've got a little something for you. So, Ice Up picks of the week, folks. Is when we tell someone in the spirit of Steve Smith that somebody needs to toughen up, somebody needs to get their mess together, somebody needs to ice up. But we had a tweet from one of our favorite people on the internet, one of our favorite people of Panther Nation, Joey, who requested we change the Ice Up segment to the Nut Up segment because that's what Cam Newton said it was time for people to do. So who do you got to tell to nut up and to ice those balls?
I think this week my Ice Up, Nut Up pick of the week is going to be Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell was given this judge, jury, executioner authority by the players, and I think he's gone absolutely haywire with it. Today, Adrian Peterson was suspended for the rest of the season without pay. Now, this is going against what Roger Goodell had committed to earlier and putting him on the commissioner's exempt list. And I don't think it's fair to Adrian Peterson. His case has been adjudicated. It's over. It's done with. They've settled and moved on. And yet he's still suffering. And it's almost double jeopardy, in my opinion, that he's going through right now. So, Roger Goodell, all I have to say to you, sir, is ice up, son.
Yeah, I agree. Is that at first I was a little upset about the Adrian Peterson incident because you look at that kid and he got beat that kid got whooping, and so the immediate reaction is to, call for whatever. I don't know what you even call for. But for me, Joey, is that I started thinking about who Adrian Peterson was, and this man is not human. So, I just don't expect you to discipline your kids. Like, if your kid was Superman, do you put him in timeout? Do you take away? What do you take away from him? So I felt like for me that was it. But you're right. Is that Roger Goodell has had a tough. It's really been a weird, terrible season for the NFL and for him specifically. My nut up, ice up pick of the week, Joe, goes to the Charlotte media, specifically Joe Person and these guys that I love. I love their work. I love what they do because that's what we aspire to be, kind of, or at least we depend on them so much. But this idea that we're silly for asking these questions and that we just aren't in the football know. Bill Voth did this today too, where it was like, why isn't Stephen Hill coming on? Because he's obviously not good enough. And it was just very curt and like, why are you guys so silly to even be asking these questions? The reason I'm telling y'all to ice up, fools, is because you were asking the questions like 35 minutes earlier than us and reporting them. And if you say this, Joe Person, by the way, just tweeted me directly saying I didn't ask that question specifically. But you're in the room with the people that are asking it. So I'm not saying you specifically asked it, but why are we so ridiculous when people that are getting paid are asking the same damn questions? They just got the answers 5 minutes earlier. So for y'all, cut us some slack. We might not be perfect as fans, but y'all jokers don't know much either. So ice up. Nut up. All right. That's it for the Carolina Cat Chronicles. The C3 podcast is 1111. That's my luckiest number in the world. Joey, you got any last parting words?
No, it's almost over, Panther fans. Just stick with it a little longer. Worst case scenario, we get a top 5 pick that should help our offensive line or receiving core or whoever it is. It's going to help us tremendously. So keep those chins up.
All right, Carolina Panther fans, Panther Nation, this is the voice of Panther Nation, the C3 podcast. You can check us out every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. We go over a little bit every now and then. But you know, what we want to just say is this, is we're here, rain or shine. I hate to say that because everybody's like got to defend their fandom. Don't worry. Our asses get up here and do a podcast, run a website for no money. So we are fans, and we will be fans to the end. But, geez, folks, come on, Carolina Panthers. Give us something more to cheer about. If not, give us a top draft pick. You can check us out. And, tomorrow night, Southbound and Down. I'm sure that will be fun. Joey, we will have to deal with Scott.
Yes, we will.
And yes, all of that. Thank you very much. Check out the website, New and Improved Awesomeness.